2, 1, boost ignition, and liftoff, and all systems are go.
Welcome to the Lesbo and the Bean universe. Lesbo and the Bean. LaTB, LaTB, where mixed martial arts and the UFC get silly. Big silly. Buckle up and move your tray tables to their upright position. And please, somebody shut that baby up. It's time for Lesbo and the Bean.
Welcome back. Episode 108.
108.
Always doing great. We are here after a Friday night Utica show that actually had some fun ups and downs. I felt like I was... Lesbo, how did you do? How did you feel after the night? Because you were hating on it a lot more than I was. I thought it was going to be a fun fight night. Did it turn out everything you wanted?
I thought there was going to be 4 good fights, and I felt like I got 4 good fights.
That's it. All the other ones sucked.
Yeah, I didn't. There was so many times that I was doing other things or in full conversation.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I got 4 good fights, and you know, they maybe 2 or 3 of those fights weren't the 4 I thought were going to be the fun ones. Like, I was excited about like the Sam Alvey fight.
Totally.
That gave me nothing. Like every Sam Alvey fight, I was excited because it was Sam, but that wasn't a good fight to watch of the night.
Split decision, Sam Alvey. Woo! That's interesting how it always happens for him like that. But we kind of said it's either a knockout or a snoozer. Did we say that went on? Ugh.
Yeah, we had to have. Because I think it.
That was a brutal one. But from the bottom to the top, we had...
Wait, what? Is there anything else going on in the world?
Oh, there's a ton
of UFC. I wanted to tell everyone there is a show on Netflix. I don't know where. I'm sure you can find it on a whole bunch of other formats, but I know it's on Netflix for sure. And it is A Survivor's Guide to Prison. And if you're an American especially, I think it's a must-watch, but I think if you live anywhere else in the world, you should definitely see it too. Just the statistics of, we have 1/3 of the incarcerated women on the planet in America.
And for men, I'm pretty sure it's up in those areas as well.
Well, we have the most incarcerated men, but we actually, 1/3 of the incarcerated women on the planet are in America. And we just have a majority of the men. But if you look into the actual... it goes into the privatization of it. It goes into innocent people and how they survived prison, and kind of even a lot of people, which brings us into a really good topic, and I actually think it's a perfect segue, how it doesn't matter if you're a racist or not. When you go into prison, you are made to pick sides with your race.
You don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice at all. It is the only way you can be protected, and it's super scary, and it can make an innocent person commit murder just because they have somebody after them, or it could make somebody that maybe wasn't that bad of a person have to prove that they are down with something horrible like an Aryan nation and get something like a swastika tattooed on themselves.
So I'm assuming you're bringing up the Angela Lee tattoo situation that's been going around, that people noticed on his forearm. Angela Lee's husband, who has also had professional fights but now mainly coaches her, and she's actually come out and talked and said on on Twitter herself that, hey, he got it while he was in prison, it's not a big deal, he covers it all the time, it doesn't reflect them. And then she said something that was just a little edgy, because she somewhere along the line said, we have an Asian and black roommate. So, I got a black and Asian friend. That's cool, right? I'm in. That makes it
like we're not racist anymore.
Yeah. Ooh. It just is. I know what she was trying to do, but it fell a little short. But I do like that she's just moving forward.
I do believe people can change.
Agreed.
I do believe that somebody could have something. And yes, I hear all the excuses out there. Hey, you guys, it's called a cover-up tattoo. Look into it. Totally agree with that as well.
Immediately.
Totally agree with that as well. And they probably have a little bit of money for him to be able to get that covered up. He could get a black square on it. He could get a Jason Knight type tattoo shield on his back.
He already has a good amount of sleeve on that arm.
You wouldn't even notice a square.
Yeah,
black anything. So he could get it covered up, and I'd like to believe that people do change and they don't carry any of those kind of views anymore. And he usually doesn't have it out. Her name's KGB Lee, which I know everybody's like, oh, Nazism and socialist, party go directly against each other. And I'm like, do they though? I think KGB Lee, and I think like Russian KGB, first thing I think of white dudes.
Weren't those some of those guys beating, or Russian people beating, or military beating up gays? Weren't they having a big anti-gay thing happen?
And Hitler, I don't even know.
Her husband gave her nickname KGB because she looks Russian, even though she doesn't have any. She's talked about it. But if you're an Aryan, what would you rather have? A Polish or a Russian wife? A Russian white wife.
I don't know. But I'm trying not to pass judgment on him, and there's no excuse and there's no reason for like an SS tattoo or the swastika tattoo, and he should get it covered up. I'm not making excuses for it all, but I do think in prison, innocent people and good people or non-racist people might do things just to survive. But I just think you should watch that documentary. And it made me think of the KGB situation. So
definitely gonna have to take a look. I thought you were gonna go more along the lines of having to bring your chapstick, because we know you need chapstick before a fight, and you're gonna be doing a lot of fighting in prison. And unfortunately,
but that's something that they even talk about on the documentary, is how much we, as a culture, it's easy for us to laugh at prison rape because we assume like, oh well, bad people.
Right.
But if you let's say were to pickpocket someone, do you deserve to be raped? Does every criminal in prison deserve to be raped? And we all laugh about it. And I'm like, that's really interesting. In the Me Too movement, we all laugh. Like, criminals, they lose their right to vote, and they lose their right to their asshole not being invaded.
Bare arms and butthole penetration.
Can't bear arms, can't vote.
So, with the extra chapstick, somebody who forgot it this weekend in Utica was Aguilar, when that fight was literally scrapped 30 minutes before DraftKings closed. I ended up sending you an urgent text. We ended up tweeting it out there to all the LaTB Nation, but literally with minutes left, there was some of those cards that took a hit for Escobar being our Leslie Smith underdog pick. When it ain't meant to be, it ain't meant to be. We forced it, and guess what? Universe, MMA-verse said. Adelaide Bird was like, I listened to the show. They don't want her. They don't want her as a Leslie dog underdog.
Adelaide Bird's always against us.
So, I don't even know if she was there this weekend.
I don't either.
Was LaTB 100% right saying, New York don't play? New York's an amateur state. New York's going to have some funky ass shit happen. And guess what? Somebody had chapped lips, and they didn't let him fight.
They let somebody go out there with staff on their shoulder, but didn't let somebody fight with chapped lips?
Great point. And nobody's brought up that staff since Who
was it again?
Card. It was earlier on in the night.
Who's that big, huge guy? Not Tabura. He's built like a brick shit house.
T-Bow?
It's not T-Bow that had it? Was it Eduardo that had it? I don't even remember now. Somebody. And they lost. Somebody who lost their fight too.
But
I don't remember.
Any last other things that have been going down? There's a lot of speculations. Yair, welcome back. Apparently, he was like, oh, we got it all wrong. Yeah, I am willing to fight him anywhere, any place. And Yair got his contract back. So luckily, UFC realized, because I'm sure Yair all of a sudden was getting calls from a lot of other companies for more money.
I was mocking Yair Rodriguez at first for coming back so quickly, but I actually think he won. Because they wanted Yair Zabit at UFC Moscow, and Yair is not fighting in Russia. He's fighting on a, 228? UFC 228 it's been booked for?
I believe so, yep.
In my opinion, Yair got he held up.
He still won.
He still won. He got, even though he's still fighting Zabit, it's on a lot bigger card and not in Russia. So for most athletes, I think it seems a little sketch to go. I would be nervous to go to Russia.
Yeah,
I'd be like,
totally.
I don't want to pop. Please don't make me pop.
Totally. Any other last? We hit on the Utica. There's been a lot of the announcers, by the way, just throwing it out there. If you want, we always forget to talk about it. We say who we like, but when we hear bad announcers, and this weekend was one of the worst matchups we've had in a very, very long time. It was a stale card as far as announcing for me. Jimmy Smith was all about American wrestling, which I am a fan, but he, at times, only talked about wrestling and not other stuff. And who was it? Was it Anik with him, or was it one of those other guys?
It was Anik. Anik and Jimmy were the most boring duo I've ever heard.
In a long time, right? It's really interesting.
They had zero color. That's what it's like if you have no color. And the other, There was more confirmation bias. I almost felt like For Jimmy, I'm still giving him the leeway of not knowing all the UFC roster yet. So he has to do tape study on these fighters before he even comes to the octagon. And I can almost hear the confirmation bias in his announcing by he only notices who I feel he did the most tape study on. Like in the Sam Alvey fight, I felt they didn't say anything Sam was doing right.
Yep.
A lot of the fights, you only heard one side.
One side of it. Totally.
So if you were listening to the audio of a lot of the fights, you would have given it to a different guy. Yeah, we can get into it.
Getting into a fun, funky night of fights, we started off with Jose Torres being pieced up by Jared Brooks. Round 1, easily 10-9 round. Second round, easily going Brooks' way, but Brooks was a little overhyped. He was showing how wrestling and just constant movement was really giving Torres a bunch of problems. Torres was also getting touched up by the hands a little bit. He got rocked, did he not? Was it in the first or second round?
This is the first of my bummer fights that I feel a little validated.
Where the underdog was, running right through Torres.
I feel validated with Brooks. I still like everything that he is going forward, and I still am not too into Torres going forward, so I still feel the exact same way about both guys. The funny part is Jared Brooks is like 9 out of 10 times if I fought him, same thing happens. He's lucky I knocked myself out. And the other thing I saw back to that was, so you're saying 1 out of every 10 times you fight, we should expect you to knock yourself out?
There's a 10% chance.
There's a 10%
you're going to knock yourself out.
I might do it. I might go so hard in the paint that I knock myself right out.
So that is definitely, if you didn't see that finish, you're going to see it for a long time to come, because it's one of the few bonehead or just high intensity situations that didn't end up going Brooks' way when he went over the top to throw Torres, but Torres actually adjusted his body weight and countered.
Yeah, everyone gave
throw.
Brooks, they were saying Brooks mistake.
Right. Torres himself did counter, and that's because he didn't just go with the throw and allowed himself to be thrown over to position. He rotated his body in the air to hit his position, and that's Wrestling 101, so it wasn't just Brooks.
He rotated his body in the air and kind of grabs Brooks by the lower and pulls his body down a little bit, so he's not so high on the throw.
As much as Brooks' head hit the back of the ground, Torres' hips actually hit Jared Brooks' head as well, accentuating that knockout.
Yes.
So I like Brooks going forward. I don't like Jose Torres debuting and saying, I'm the Justin Gaethje of the 125-pound division, 125-pound division. That's not somebody I want to see. I don't want to see someone who always has to get hurt in order to win a fight, because eventually, you're seeing what's happening with Justin Gaethje. Eventually that happens. So, anything left with those two? On to debuting Nathaniel Woodward versus Johnny Eduardo. This finished via Darce choke in the second round. Again, Lesbo having a great pick at Eduardo. I was right there with her. Eduardo was showing us why he's a high-level Muay Thai striker. He was picking apart Nathaniel Wood, and in the second round was starting to slow down Eduardo.
He was a huge underdog. He was was one of the big underdogs I had on my card. You needed 2 to get the fat guys at the top.
Yep.
So
it was a great pick. I was shitting my pants.
I was like, damn! If it came through, it would have been a night changer.
So Eduardo in the second round has some of the lowest fight IQ you'll see in a very long time. This is something that I'm really going to have to fade on later, because the reason Eduardo shot that takedown, it was reactionary because he was gassed. He was gassing too hard, and he wanted to just rest a little bit, and all of a sudden got darced all sorts of up by Wood. But Wood took a beating. Is he in the same boat as Torres and Gaethje, where Wood has regularly taken beating in fights and comes through? Eventually, that's not going to pay off.
I gotta fade Wood. If he didn't get through Eduardo, who I was so surprised at how good Eduardo got to look the whole entire round 1, I got to fade Wood going forward.
I just want to say real quick, was not the bean saying that, hey, Wood holds his head a little straight and Eduardo's a good striker. That's exactly what happened. I think we were on that one. Definitely a fun one, but hesitant on both fighters.
Agree.
Both fighters. Going forward to the next one, we had a 155-pound bout. Desmond Green defeats Gleison T by unanimous decision. I feel like everybody saw it coming. It was a cardio session more than anything. Out-wrestled. I don't like how much Des Green gets hit, but he's had a solid chin his entire career so far. But T-Bow's also just losing a step in power, strength, all of it. He's just fought for too long.
I kind of like Desmond Green going forward, watching him with a guy with the power of T-Bow. I appreciate, even though I don't think he needs to take as much damage going forward, I thought he had great head movement, and when he did get touched, he didn't get knocked out, which getting hit with the guy with the power of T-Bow and not being chinny is a great, so your wrestling is looking good and on point, your cardio looked better than it has before, and you proved to me again you're not chinny climbing up. I like Desmond Green going forward. I'm finally on the Desmond Green train.
Come on, ride it. Don't ride that train. Come on, ride it.
Way deep down south, when we play this game, it's Lesbo in the Bean, and we call it the train. Woo, woo. So if you want to ride the train, come on down.
So, on to Muhammad beating Chance, debuting Rakatur in a decision. Everyone saw this coming. A minus 400 for Belal Muhammad. It was a short notice fight. I actually like Rakatur moving on from this point on. The Black Crow, or the Black Eagle himself, had a good showing.
The Black Crow.
We have cooler name than the Black Eagle. I'm just throwing that out there.
Hey, little thing, I light a candle because my mom's so hard to handle down around.
So, but Muhammad used all of his tricks, used the wrestling and striking, and striking's getting better. I don't think this was a true showing of his true potential because, again, that short notice fight falling through. Again, I think Chance can beat a lot of other guys with a full training camp. I like what I saw with the size, the movement. Even though he got hurt a few times in there, he really had good composure and was never blown out minus 400. Minus 400, you're expecting to get out of there, and he held his own. He actually hit Belal a few times.
And it wasn't because Muhammad wasn't turning it on.
Totally.
Belal looked great in there as well. We talked about how great his body looked. He looked a lot thicker than he had in previous fights and just toned everywhere. There was no soft midsection. He had that like wire, or that, I always say wiry. I need to think of he had that like Dan Henderson wrestling body where it just looked hard all the way through. Yeah, I like both guys going forward, so the fact that Chance even made it to decision with Belal is a great, great thing for me.
I agree, they're both on the upside.
For your first fight in the UFC against friggin' remember the name?
Think of the growth that he's going to have because he came in at such a top guy. He picked up stuff in there, 15 minutes. That's ring time that is going to be
I think you can actually throw him against right into those fights where Belal just beat somebody that was also Landau.
That's Landau's at 55. This is 70.
So that's why Belal looks so big. Damn it. So, well, I like Belal at 70 though going forward.
Yeah.
Is this the first time we got to see him at 70?
No, I think his whole career's been at 70.
Oh shit.
Yeah. He's always fought bigger guys, but
hasn't he fought Landau, Veneta?
No, I don't think they've ever fought. Nope.
Huh.
So, on to the better of the Tamor brothers. Ended up getting a decision over the Carney, Nick Lentz himself.
Am I thinking of David Tamor against Landau Veneta?
Yes, that's it. That's it.
I'm like, I did study, and I watched Landau Veneta fights.
Yeah, that was until where he didn't win.
And it was against Tamor and who's fighting the Carney. I think they both fought Landau. Maybe not.
Maybe the Carney has. But either way, we had a decision. This was fairly one-sided. We actually here at LaTB had Nick Lentz as kind of one of those wager underdogs for a decision. Didn't do too bad. I think he only got like 18 points though, which really, really sucked. But really liked where Tamura was going with this. Lentz still has that grind ability, still makes ugly fights. Tamur did not get trapped in that cardio grind, which is a really good step because he was getting more fatigued in prior fights and he really showed his cardio get to a next level this fight. Lentz is not somebody, it's hard to make him look bad, and Tamur was able to do that. So, Lentz, I'm going to be tentative of it. He's really fight-to-fight dependent, but I really think we can start to put heavily money on Tamur, but people have been saying that for a while. I think Lentz is finally that high-level credible win that he's got under his belt.
I like Lentz. I still think he can F up cards going forward.
Totally.
Tamur, and I was wondering it watching the second Tamur brother fight. I really love David Tamur, and the only reason I fell off is I let his brother start to pollute the name in my head. He was one of those guys that I felt about him like of equivalent as who's the other really cute guy, and he's fighting. He called out Bisping last. Everyone did.
Tavares.
Yes, Brad Tavares.
Yep.
I had Tamura up there with that same respect and like where I really thought he was like a world beater going forward. And his brother, it creeped into my brain and made me think less of David Tamura. Rewatching this fight against Lentz, I have that faith in Tamura again that it'll be hard pressed going forward for me to bet against him.
Right.
Even though his brother came out and did exactly what he did last time.
Exactly. On to a split decision. We had Sam Alvey over
What, Tamura? Is that
Vellante.
155?
That was 155 pounds, the last bout. Correct.
Okay, so where's David Tamura? Is he ranked now? Is he in the top 15?
I think he's borderline top 15-ish, but that division at 155 is so heavy that, he's Nick Lentz is that gatekeeper into the top 15 for sure. 100%.
So who else would you say what's the next big fight for him?
For Timur?
Yeah.
At 155, because what was Des Green at? Were they at 55? Des Green's off of a win? They
That's
both, in the same
perfect.
amount of time, they both had a decision. Neither one took too much damage. I think
I
that's
like
a
that.
wrestler,
And I
striker.
think it deserves to be on a pay-per-view card. It could be
that's
a on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's definitely a main card event right there. I would love to see. Actually, that's a really good one.
All right, cool. Thanks for answering that.
Split decision. Oh, wait, never mind. I skipped them. We had a decision with Sajara Eubanks versus Lauren Murphy. This one was the number 2 and 3 for the 125-pound division. And in any other division, this wouldn't have been the number 2 and 3. Right? Any other 115 or 145, this
No
couldn't
way.
be. There's no way. It's just how young
Or
and
in the
fresh this division
135.
is. That's what I'm saying. None of this would be the
135
2 and
is
3.
not too far behind the 125 with talent. There aren't that many ladies left. It's like Amanda Nunes standing alone,
Yeah.
and then we can still talk about Misha and Ronda just to throw in big names. But other than that, everybody is skated away from the 135. If I'm Lauren Murphy, who's Sanjaya, or I just move up to 135. You can fight the champion.
Is that the idol, Sanjaya? Sajara. Sanjaya. She starts singing in there, gets punched in the mouth. So Eubanks ended up one-sidedly being able to keep this fight standing and winning a boring decision. Murphy wasn't able to take it to the ground. Here we thought that Murphy was going to be able to implement her wrestling a bit more, and it was Eubanks keeping Murphy on her back more than anything. And with either one of these fighters, I don't know where they're both matchup dependent. Banks got her cardio under her a bit better, but Murphy's number 2. I mean, who else do they fight other than the champ?
I think the only thing that has to happen is Eubanks versus Shevchenko for the belt. Montano does not want to fight either of those.
Interim, it's got to be an interim belt.
I don't think so. I think they pull it from her. It's been over a year since she's fought, hasn't it?
She got throat problems, homie.
She got her wisdom teeth out. Or tonsils out.
Tonsils out. I got my 2 weeks later, I've been in the gym. Tonsils out.
Tonsils out. That's bullshit. And even Shevchenko's like, I do not understand why she has these problems. So it's 14 days? 14 days?
2 weeks, exactly.
Like, I agree. So Eubanks wants it but couldn't make the weight before. She's in there now. She has one fight in the 125. Shevchenko wants it. She has one fight in the 125. Montano apparently doesn't want it. I just think you pull the belt from her. I do not think you make them fight for an interim to meet her. It's ridiculous.
But the way the UFC's been going as of late, the more belts in the photos, the nicer. So it's the perfect situation to make an interim belt. And they don't have to feel bad about it at all.
It's not perfect if Montano does. She doesn't even have the footage to make a reel.
I think they'd pull a lot from the Ultimate Fighter because she had 2 fights in the Ultimate Fighter and then 1 decision.
Do you think she deserves to keep that belt?
No, not 100% no. Not at all. But
there's no, in my opinion,
that's the game people are playing now.
I would make a dollar LaTB bet. In my opinion, they do not. If Montano doesn't fight Shevchenko
By what time?
this year.
What's this year though? November, December, August?
Okay, I'll just say this.
Okay.
Here's a really easy way to do it. If Shevchenko doesn't fight Montano for the belt, Shevchenko's next fight will be for the belt. Regardless.
Oh yeah, totally.
And whatever next fight Shevchenko has,
Sure.
They're not holding up a division for Montano. The UFC would not hold. They give Woodley heat, and the homeboys beating the best in the world all the time. They're not holding it up for Montano. Whitaker, he got GSP. He was the interim. They gave it to him. Tony Ferguson. He tripped over a wire promoting their event that he was about to fight for, and they took his interim belt, and then gave Khabib a real championship belt on top of fighting the number 11th guy or something. So Montano, they ain't holding that up for her.
So you're saying there's a chance.
That would be my bet. Shevchenko's next fight is for the belt regardless. They will not do an interim belt. That's what I think.
I like that. I think there's money to be made there.
I thought you were going with the other side.
No, I think Eubank should get pulled as well. Not Eubank. Montano should get pulled as well. We've seen this.
And we got a little bullet bias, but you know that already.
Always on the bullet bias. So, a lot of people thought that this fight was biased with the hometown favorite, John Vellante, getting a split decision loss against Sam Alvey, one of the snoozers of the night, turned into a kickboxing match. We kind of predicted it was going to be that. We were thinking, though, a bit more that Vellante's chin wouldn't hold up. But it was set up perfectly for me for Sam Alvey because he's a counter striker for Vellante to move forward, and Vellante really showed that he's not that brawler anymore, which is good for him, but doesn't make a good fight. I think the best outcome of this entire fight is that Sam Alvey has the smartest call-outs of anybody in the UFC right now. He's picking fighters that he can beat. He's doing it smart. He's not picking a top 5 guy. He's picking Corey the Chinny Anderson, John the Chin Vellante. Anyone who's had a rough chin, he's like, okay, I'll fight that guy.
And they're chinny,
it's so smart.
usually, we didn't see that out of Vellante this time, but you were alluding to it before, usually Corey Anderson and John Vellante, not counter-strikers, which that is what Alvey is. So he doesn't want to fight another counter-striker.
Because then you get Thuradoa.
Yeah. And
Elias
you get another boring fight. Yeah, you get the Holly Holm type.
Exactly, situation going on. But any highlights you can think of this entire fight?
Even though I had Sam Alvey and I love Sam Alvey, I was really surprised he won. And it was funny because the hometown trained guy didn't win. Everybody's like, oh. And then everybody loves Sam so much. You can't be mad. He is a guy that turns around the audience. Agreed. I know you're mad, but I'm going to smile big and just point at you and make and everyone's
I have a call
out. Yeah. He's funny.
He's great. And how do you feel that?
And he bores me to tears, and I still
love to see it.
I am the New York audience. I'm the same. I'm like, boo.
I love it. As soon as his wife's in there, I'm all about it. So, how do you feel about Corey Anderson losing a family member, an uncle, literally as the call-out's happening, and he just wants some time?
Or something.
It was an uncle, specifically, and he got the call literally right before the call-out, so he just needs time. Unless his uncle raised him, do you think it's deserved
the only thing I would
wait?
think for Corey Anderson is he still has this illusion of grandeur for himself that he deserves one of the top guys in the division. He still thinks he's fighting for the title. Sam Alvey's a guy that he's fighting for a paycheck, and he's not worried about a title, and he's still fighting to win a fight. He's not worried about climbing up the division. So, in my opinion, yes, I do think something bad could have happened in Corey Anderson's family, but I don't think he would say no to that fight because he's scared of Sam Alvey. I think he would say no because he doesn't want to fight backward, or he doesn't feel Sam's name's big enough. But I think that's a good fight, and that could be like a main event on Fox or ESPN.
Totally.
It's like that kind of, not a pay-per-view, but it's two big guys. And it's a Sam Alvey fight. Maybe not a main event. I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
Yeah, not even on a Fox card. You would never put Sam Alvey as a main FS night at all.
No.
No. So, we go back to the 145ers. This was actually the second main card. We had Julio Arce defeating lesser of the Timur brothers at 145 pounds. This was a submission in the third round. A lot of people had Arce the whole way. Arce looked great all the way around, but we really saw where the Timur brothers striking, or Daniel Timur's striking, is all he relies on. And once it gets to the ground, he's a fish out of water, where his brother is actually a much better wrestler and ground guy. So with this Timur brother, he could beat some lower level, like not even top 25, barely keeping their jobs guys. But from what he's showing me right now, there's a lot of other 45ers specifically that are going to do this exact same thing to him. Liked everything I saw from Arce. Great gas tank in the third round. He was really putting the pressure. Liked his striking all the way around, and he showed us on the ground that he can get it done against anybody.
I'm nervous a little about Arce going forward, only because it's Daniel Timur that he fought.
Good call.
And I have to remember that. That he didn't beat David Timur. For me, it'll just be Timur, and I'll be like, oh my God, he beat Timur. Oh my, I'm going to go with this guy. No, it was the wrong Timur brother. All I have to say about Timur, I don't know about ours going forward. It'll be fight. I have to see him fight somebody else before I can make a real decision. But what Daniel is to David, Lobov is to Connor.
I like that. Totally. All the same, exact same reasoning. Why he gets in. Exactly the same. Even fight styles. That's pretty spot on.
Yeah, even that different. How you're like, they're trained at the same camp. They seem to have all the same skills. But
one's world class and one is not.
It's like we're both painters. We both have paint. And mine's
funny. That would be a funny switch out face. The Tamir brothers and switch Connor and Lobov's face on them. That'd be a good one. So, anything left with either of those two gentlemen?
Nope.
One of the few underdogs to come through in the night. We had 170 pounds. Ben Saunders knocking out Jake Ellenberger in the first round. We both had Ellenberger on this.
So wrong about this.
But I think you were right in the same saying. Ellenberger sometimes doesn't throw punches, which if you don't throw a punch on Ben Saunders, you ain't going to knock him out. And it was those knees that finally hit that liver, and Ellenberger
exploded his liver.
Yep, all the way down.
You know, if we did a show right after weigh-ins, I would have changed to Ben Saunders because of how bad Jake's body looked. And I'm not saying that I don't think Jake's dirty at all now, but I do think if you ever did steroids before and then don't continue to do them, you get that saggy muscle look that we saw in Homeboy who just retired, Vitor.
Yep.
And have you seen all the videos of Vitor since he's been juicing out of the UFC? How much better his body looks already? Yeah. So I almost think that the age with Ellenberger, his body just did not look great. He looked older. And I think
he's been in a long time. We were saying that initially. We've even been saying it with Ben Saunders because, hey, good for you, Ben Saunders. You got through a Jake Ellenberger. But if you get another Joe Ban type of bro in there, you're going to get your head torn apart again, homie.
But he has the best clinch game in the whole
He really
UFC.
does if he implements it. Which sometimes he doesn't.
Brutal.
Yeah, beautiful Muay Thai for Ben Saunders.
It crushed his liver up into his ribcage. It was brutal. At first, we thought it was a sternum hit, like dead on, like that could have broke his wrist.
But that was right in the liver. You might be peeing a little bit of blood.
I don't know if I'm ready to wash Ben Saunders out now because I think Joe Ban's one of those top 10 guys. So maybe Saunders is a gatekeeper. I know he just beat Ellenberger, but that shot would have taken out anyone in the division.
Yeah, I could see that.
Strengthen your liver.
I could see that. On to the heavyweights.
I don't even know what division it is.
It's 170 pounds. There's some fucking monsters in there.
It's all a build, too. Yeah, I don't know what you can do to strengthen your liver, though, if you take that shot.
There's some other guys that can take body shots better. Some people do better than others. I couldn't. I would have definitely shit my pants in the ring.
I shit my pants, and I was just watching.
Yeah. Is that why you left the room?
I had to clean up. And I had to clean up and cry in the mirror because I said aloud Ellenberger KO round 1.
Oh.
And it happened.
It did.
I meant to say Ben Saunders KO's Ellenberger round 1.
So we need to believe. So good under the distance pick on that, and that was probably the best bet to make there. So not the co-main event. We go to the heavyweights though. 265 pounds. We had Walt Harris defeating Daniel Spitz in the second round with a second left. I actually didn't put the bet out online, but ended up having Walt Harris in the second round, which cashed me a good little amount. But that ref wanted Spitz to die in there before he called it out because Spitz ate in that second round 2 hard shots. Well, how did it start off in the first? I think Harris pretty much controlled the entire fight. Spitz looked like a gangly guy who was just eating punches.
How I just like to talk about their bodies.
Yeah.
Both guys physically look better than they ever had before stepping inside the octagon. Spitz looked like he finally had a fighter's body. Like, we noticed the difference when a guy gets to train full time and when they step up to the level of UFC. He was cut. His body looked long and lean.
Yep.
On the other, Walt Harris, all the fat that he used to carry around his midsection, most of it was gone. His cardio was better. He came into the second round with a lot more cardio than he did before. So both guys looked better on the outset to me, but Walt Harris he's taking the strides to be that next level guy.
He showed more. He showed more in there. For sure. I would agree with that as well, but I've never been too high on Spitz, so Walt Harris being a minus 300, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to finish somebody, and the line was right there. Walt Harris is just sketchy sometimes. He's lost to some unique people, but yeah, he is hitting his stride, especially at heavyweight. Tends to be a little later on in their careers they really get in that rhythm. So the co-main event comes about with an 11-1 fighter against an 11-0, now 12-0, Gregor Gillespie defeating Vince Pichel in the second round at the 4-minute mark.
Baby Albini, is he too low for Walt Harris? I think Walt Harris needs a
No, because he's on a loss. He's on a double loss, so you need win and a win.
Walt Harris needs if the UFC needs to do more, like, that's why the ranking system kind of sucks altogether. They need to set up a guy like Walt Harris with a walkthrough win. Everyone would be like, well, that was Spitz. I understand, kind of, but I think that
more of a walkthrough.
Yeah,
there's other walkthroughs.
He's somebody that you could build a star around.
Totally, because I think Walt Harris has one decision on his belt that he's lost. And then every other fight's been a TKO for Walt Harris. Every win he's had has been a TKO.
And he has a good wrestling game that we never even need to see, right?
Right. Anyway, in that heavyweight division, they can get 3 losses in a row and still have a contract.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Those guys.
Exactly.
Mark Hunt.
The co-main event, though, these guys at a 55-pound deep division, this was a showcase bout. Pichel throws with heat when he needs to, but you could just see with a high-level athlete. Really loved how Gillespie's... he was always looking for the takedown, because that's one thing we were saying here at LaTB, that Pichel still has power, and it looked like Gillespie wasn't even trying to box with Pichel. He would throw an overhand right directly into a single leg, and then he just would chain wrestle a single to a double to a single, and you would just see Pichel just being like outworked. He would be 3 steps ahead of him
Noodle
the whole
up
time.
His legs, get him all together and wobbly, take him down.
High-level stuff in there from Gillespie.
You know, I don't hate Pichel. I think Gillespie's one of these guys that's just going to friggin' like monkey arm through the division. Like, he's going to swing just through guys, and we're not going to realize until he's in these top 5 guys of how great he actually is.
Yep.
So I still think Pichel, staying alive for as long as he did, he showed some interesting scrambles. With a lesser guy, I still think he's going to be okay. Gillespie's just going to be one of these guys that's destined for the top 5.
For the top 5, easy. And Pichel, I think there's actually a ton of money to be made. People are going to be like, oh, you got to finish his last fight. Okay. Against, again, a top 5 guy. There's going to be, if they match him up, there's going to be a lot of guys to fold to Pichel.
I asked watching the Gillespie fight, I said, is this like what it would be like to watch an American Khabib? Just a takedown and just the brutal control. And he said a little different. Khabib has different wrist control. He tends to go to half guard or stay in full mount. Or
And he throws little rabid punches where you see these American guys pushing forward, like they're always pushing your head. Khabib does that, I guess, but it is much more wrist controlling. Where Gillespie was legs, he had his hips to the mat and was like, "You ain't moving, dude."
So good fight. If you just want to go back and watch one of the up and comers, like when people are talking about Sugar Shane or Adesanya, when people are talking about these guys, they need to be talking about Gregor Gillespie too, in the same category of. And I think a perfect example, here's something this could be for a weasel or an alpaca thesaurus. You can take an evolution of MMA video, which used to be when people talked about it, was Yair standing alone. But now I think you could talk about Zabi and Adesanya and Gregor Gillespie. And Gregor Gillespie, the coolest part about that is because he is so wrestling-centric, where a lot of these other guys are dynamic strikers. Mm-hmm. So I think it keeps the art form alive of wrestling in the UFC. So I think that those guys are the evolution of MMA.
I agree. I think you have points there because it is... it's so much fun. That's why we have a podcast. That's why we talk about this stuff. That's why we're always just like, look, keep looking.
I got a little on a soapbox about it.
So, fun co-main event.
What is the division that's won?
55?
55 for them. So where's Gregor go next?
Again, and anyone in the top 10, anywhere. Again, if they give Pichel a lower rank guy because he lost to someone, that's just give me money. I'm going to be putting so much money on
Is it
Vince
too
for
much
that.
if I'm 155? That's such a... Who just got knocked out by Jeremy Stevens?
But his face is too
Oh,
much.
yeah, he's
but
effed up.
Stevens Gillespie's a fun one right there.
But Stevens is fighting another banger. He's fighting Aldo.
Does he already have a bout?
Aldo?
I'm
Is
not
that-
sure. Did he? I think that might be.
Stevens 145?
Yeah, that's right. They are 145.
Anyway. Fun for Gillespie anywhere we go.
Anywhere we go.
My head
And
can't even
Pichel.
wrap around it.
And or Pichel. But a great co-main event. Definitely profiling and styling to the main event. We had Marlon Moraes against Jimmy, the undefeated Rivera. You know the way LaTB picked here. Both one-sided on the slide underdog, who ended up being the favorite and actually closed as the minus 110 against the minus 120. So both of them were minus money against Rivera.
In Las Vegas, they call that a pick'em.
Pick'em fight, and we never swayed. I think we both said that, hey, Moraes has way more options to finish and a good enough gas tank, and we were saying nonstop from the get-go that Jimmy Rivera is beating guys that are on their way out, where Moraes is winning or losing the guys that are still up in that top 10, top 5 region. It only took 30 seconds. What do you take from it? What do you take from this fight?
Marlon Moraes is a scary MF, and if I'm Cody or TJ, whatever happens after this fight, I need to get surgery on something and take a vacation, because their next fight is a scary guy. In my opinion, he's the scariest guy in the division.
I love me some Marlon Moraes. I remember how here at LaTB we were also talking about, hey, if Moraes can do that switching knee where he adjusted his kick to a knee to hit Sterling, guess what exact same kick he threw? That was a switch knee, left knee that he hit Aljamain with. That was a switch left kick that he hit Rivera with. Just saying, picking out some high-level tactics from this guy that are just... You can see him see things, and before you realize, it's too late. You gotta freaking... Have you seen the slowdown of Rivera holding his right hand up, and it still just hit... I mean, picture perfect kick.
The setup for it is first Marlon Moraes went to the body.
Yep.
And on that switch kick, it looked like he was going to go to the body again, so Rivera pulls up his right hand to block it. He thinks, oh shit, he's kicking to the body. He's going to drop his arm back down to block a body shot. Boom, right over the top.
But that was actually only the knockdown, because once it got to the ground, Moraes actually ended up circling around to the back and landing side ground punches, which Rivera went nose first into the ground, hands at his hips. He was out. He got up and refuted it, but it was wrong. He, I think, has since then realized, seen the tape, and been like, oh, I was out on the ground.
Yeah, and he was wrestling the ref.
The ref, yeah. Rivera was definitely out, but the setup to that wasn't the kick. It wasn't a one-hitter quitter. Moraes did finish it with ground and pound, which just shows that, again, Moraes is a scary dude.
If I'm Marlon Moraes, I take a little week off, 2 weeks off, and I go right back to camp, and I stay in shape. Because a chance of Cody or TJ pulling out is such high level, and they're going to be all amped up, that they'll take that fight on short notice, but it won't be short notice for you. I think you train, and I know training for both those guys, you kind of have to train a little differently. But you can, I think there's things your camp can do and take from both those guys to make you ready for either on a short notice. I know I'm not usually either guy. I think for sure Moraes is better than Cody. Him against TJ is questionable.
I mean, that's a super fight all of a sudden. That looks super, super fun. The thing that I feel is tough with the situation that we're having troubles with the weigh-ins. We regularly talk about it here on the show. Again, we have people... everyone made weight, people were close, but we've had habitually, card after card, people missing weight, and is it something else? Is it because we're having two weigh-ins now? Is it because we're having an early and a late? Is it because we're having...
just weighing ones.
Well, they also have changed the criteria where the UFC's pulling people if you weigh in so much once you get into town. But Mariah's what I was going to get to.
Depending on the state, they do have that, how much percentage they can lose.
And Mariah's is one of those guys who couldn't take this Rivera fight on multiple other cards because he needed time to cut weight. Because he walks around at 170, 175 and cuts down to 135. And he's a tank. That dude is fucking shredded. He may have
the best body in the whole UFC. Like, every single muscle, and it's all, like, proportionate.
It's proportionate. Yeah, he is proportionate, but he wouldn't look like that at 170 pounds. He just look a little, that's what I walk around at.
A little Eddie Alvarez. He looks like Eddie Alvarez.
He does look like Alvarez. He really does look like
If he grew that little weird straight beard that Eddie Alvarez has,
totally.
If I'm
Bodies
Bryce,
are close-ish.
I'm Eddie Alvarez for Halloween this year.
That would be hilarious.
A little flat brim Philly hat with a little beard.
That would be so funny.
You heard it, Marlon Bryce. I need that.
You heard it here first.
I need that in my life.
But we keep on rolling. We have another week ahead of us. We have a pay-per-view.
A big card.
25 years in the making. We have a number 2 in the way with Yoel Romero versus Robert
Whittaker.
Bobby Knuckles Whittaker.
I'm more excited about 226. 225 is cool.
Fun. And I was about to say, actually, now that it's number 2 Romero Whittaker, I'm not that excited for it. But the co-main event?
That's the Cody Dillashaw, right?
That's the main event right there.
And, well, I don't think that Yoel should be fighting this fight. I have a little bit of beef about it, but I guess we can save it for the card.
We do have that on Wednesday coming up.
Yeah, it's Happy Sunday, and for those that are listening to this at Monday at work, I hope your work week goes by
So
fast.
actually, quick correction, it is not Cody Garbrandt versus TJ.
That's 226.
That's 226.
That's on with CADC.
Yes, we are pumped for that one. It's actually Dos Anjos versus Colby Covington.
I'm excited about that.
That's an interim. That means a lot for the 170-pound division. That's a lot of movement that's going to happen.
I'm
there.
excited about that. 225 is a good-looking card, but 226 is just a stallion.
Woo woo!
Yeah. So thanks for listening, everyone. Make sure you're liking and subscribing to get the latest info. You never know when we have something fun coming out. That's it.
That's for the beat.
Thanks for listening to LaTB. For all things Lesbo and the Bean, head over to lesboandthebean.com or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.